Welcome back to the Morning Brief. And top on the brief this morning, for the record sixth time in 2024, Nigerians were once again plunged into a nationwide blackout following the collapse of the national grid. And the grid reportedly collapsed at about 6:18 p.m. on Monday evening, leaving Nigerians in darkness. It began with power generation dropping from 3.87 gigawatts at 5 p.m. to 3.56 gigawatts at 6 p.m. and then 0.00 gigawatts at 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. The Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, according to reports, has confirmed the grid collapse in a statement on Monday evening. And away from that, the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, has been speaking on the Nigeria tax bill. Speaking on the sidelines of the Nigeria Economic Summit, Mr. Oyedele explains that part of the bill entails increasing the taxes of persons who earn above 1.5 million naira.
If you earn 1.5 million naira a month or less, your personal income tax bill will go down. Of course, at the lower end, completely exempted. But if you earn more than that amount, you see it going up incrementally up to 25%. Today, if you earn 100 million naira a month, nobody hits 19% effective personal income tax rate. We're taking that up to 25% for the rich people. And that's because you need to balance the book. Why is that important? We also have the one around VAT. We look at food, we look at health, we look at education, we look at accommodation and transportation.
And the Minister for Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, is looking at the possibility of contributing about $100 billion to increase the gross domestic product by 2030. This, according to her, can be achieved through collaboration with the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment. She stated this at a stakeholder engagement on the National Intellectual Property Policy and Strategy.
In my ministry, we have committed that we want to have a great expansion economically, whereby we will contribute at least $100 billion to increase the GDP by 2030. And the first step in giving us the ability to do that is to have IP.
And climate change experts are calling for increased funding for subnational governments in Africa to achieve the 2030 target by the Paris Agreement to reduce emissions by about 45%. Vice President Kashim Shettima, who was represented at the Africa Climate Change Forum in Abuja, restates government's commitment to providing the needed legal and financial framework for climate change resilience.
As rightly said by my friend from the World Bank, some of the policy decisions, the policy options available are painful, but they were almost inevitable. My heart and the heart of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu goes to the Nigerian people. We empathize with what the poor and the young are going through in the Nigerian nation. But we had no option, as he rightly said. Yes, some of these decisions are unpopular, but the truth that sets men free, as H.S. Aga said, is most often the truth that men prepare not to hear. But what he said were very poignant and were very, very truthful. We have thus prioritized investments in critical infrastructure, enhance our social safety nets, and promote innovation across all sectors. I am pleased to report that we are making significant strides in addressing several key issues, including regulatory bottlenecks and ease of doing business challenges. This progress should instill confidence in our collective ability to overcome those challenges. Our objective is to ensure that the Nigerian economy is inclusive, where small and medium-sized enterprises can thrive alongside large corporations, and where every citizen, regardless of location or background, can benefit from economic opportunities. We have initiated various programs such as the MSME hubs and single-digit loans for manufacturers designed to provide entrepreneurs with the support they need to succeed. We have also introduced the Credit Corporation to offer our workers consumer loans with single-digit interest. These initiatives collectively will boost the economy and ensure it remains competitive in Africa and globally.
Vice President there in his earlier comments on the administration's ongoing economic reforms. And to other stories now, the Federal Ministry of Education has announced that the new curriculum for basic education will commence across schools in the country by January 2025. The Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, who disclosed this in Abuja at a stakeholder meeting on the implementation of the new curriculum, says senior secondary education curriculum would also commence by September 2025. Professor Maman says the new curriculum will address problems of learning, crisis, and employability, as the new skill acquisition to be introduced will have a multiplier effect by equipping students with 21st century skills. And to a sad one, 6 persons, all adult male, have been confirmed dead in a multiple road accident involving 5 vehicles at Amuloko area of Onwara, local government area of Oyo State. A statement by the Sector Public Education Officer, Oyo State Road Safety Command, Mr. Mayowa Idewo, says 6 adult male lost their lives, while 5 other adult male sustained varying degrees of injury. The accident, which occurred at about 8 a.m. at Okieleshin, Amuloko in Onwara, local government area, involved 5 vehicles comprising 2 articulated vehicles, a minibus, and 2 tricycles, which were significantly damaged due to the impact. Eyewitness accounts say one of the trucks carrying tiles lost control due to possible brake failure and rammed into another truck carrying drinks, while the tricycles and the minibus all got caught up in the chaos that ensued. The 5 adult male who sustained injuries have been taken to a neighboring hospital for treatment, while bodies of those who died have been deposited at the morgue of the University College Hospital, Ibadan. And moving further down south, in Delta State to be precise, the divisional police officer of Agbaro Police Division has been killed after hoodlums ambushed officers during an operation. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Bright Daffy, confirmed to Channels Television that the incident occurred in the early hours of Monday. According to him, 2 divisional police officers from Agbaro and Orirokwe stations were on an operation with some officers when they were ambushed and shot at by hoodlums. Sadly, the DPO of Agbaro lost his life, while the other officer sustained injuries and was rushed to the hospital, where he has been treated and is now reportedly in stable condition. The police have given assurances that the hoodlums will be brought to book. And to politics now, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, led by Umar Damagum, is threatening to unleash the police on suspended officers of the party for contempt of court. The acting National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Mr. Ibrahim Manga, stated this at a news conference in Abuja, where he also alleged that some prominent members of the party are fueling the ongoing rift that has split the PDP into 2 factions. And the Vice President of the World Bank, Mr. Dermot Gill, says Nigeria has the largest number of people living in extreme poverty globally. Speaking at the Nigeria Economic Summit 30th anniversary in Abuja, Mr. Gill notes that Nigeria's reforms between 2003 and 2007 led to impressive economic growth.
To start that process of thriving, the President's signature reforms are essential. They are essential to break from the past and to chart a more hopeful course for all Nigerians. These include the unification of what used to be multiple exchange rates. They include allowing that unified exchange rate to be determined by the market. And of course, they include the elimination of fuel subsidies. But implementing such a far-reaching reform is impossible without solid political commitment from the top. The price of PMS has quintupled since the subsidy cuts, imposing terrible hardship across the breadth of Nigerian society. the central bank has had to hike its policy rate by a huge 850 basis points, that's almost 9 percentage points, in the last 9 months to boost confidence in the naira and anchor inflationary expectations. But the central bank financing of fiscal deficits has finally ended. And Governor Cardoso has been putting Nigeria, or be helping to put Nigeria on the right course, on the correct course. But this is only the beginning. Nigeria will need to stay the course for at least another 10 to 15 years to transform its economy.
And outside our shores, U.S. Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has agreed to appear on Fox News this week, her first ever sit-down interview with the conservative news network. Before then, Harris and her presidential opponent, Donald Trump, will campaign in Pennsylvania, hosting events on opposite sides of the battleground state. Her running mate, Tim Walz, has twice appeared on Fox News Sunday during the campaign, with the Democratic ticket ramping up media appearances following criticism on the matter. As Election Day nears, Trump has said any unrest that may unfold on or after November the 5th will likely come from radical left lunatics. That's according to reports by the international media. And in sports news, the Confederation of African Football has expressed deep concern over the troubling ordeal faced by Nigeria's national football team, the Super Eagles, at a Libyan airport. This comes after the Super Eagles and Nigerian delegation to the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers were left stranded under distressing conditions for several hours. CAF said the issue has been referred to its disciplinary board for investigation, and appropriate action will be taken in line with its statutes and regulations. Meanwhile, the Super Eagles have returned to Nigeria after their airport ordeal in Libya. The Nigeria national team's flight landed at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano on Monday evening. The players then moved to Abuja, from where they are expected to depart to their various clubs. The Super Eagles were held at the Al-Abak airport. And President Bola Tinubu has welcomed the safe return of the Super Eagles to Nigeria after the treatment they endured in Libya, and demanded swift justice for the Super Eagles in line with football statutes and regulations. And of course, I can only imagine, and I'm quite excited about what you are saying about some of these big stories.